So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPhone 16 honest review after 3 weeks. Now you'll see I have the SOS up there because I couldn't keep my sim on this one. Just couldn't do it. You know, the iPhone 16 Pro Max to me is more my drift. But I'm going to tell you everything I learned. I paid the full price for this. This thing's been out for almost a month here already. And honestly, I don't feel like it's the most popular in the lineup. However, there are a lot of goodies to this phone, but I couldn't do it as my main phone for one specific reason, and that is the lack of 120 hertz. Because everything else is right there with the pros. It's just that lack of ProMotion display really makes this something that isn't my favorite phone on the market today. So some quick key specs: 6.1-inch Retina display that is an OLED panel. It also gets the same brightness as like the Pro models, 48 megapixel camera on the rear with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. You can crop in on that sensor for more zoom. 8 gigabytes of RAM on board. Apple A18 chipset, not the Pro chipset, but it's still 3 nanometer. 3561 milliamp hour battery. Apple Intelligence is launching maybe in a week or two here on 18.1, but it was advertised Apple Intelligence on the website, but you don't get that out of the box, so that's a little bit to me. I wish they wouldn't do that. I wish they would tell us coming. Well, they did say coming this fall, but I wish we would have that right out of the box is what I'm saying. That was kind of annoying to get things started. I do really like the ultramarine color. I will be totally honest with you about that. And I want to talk about the body and design. I really like the changes they made to the iPhone 15, and they're not really much different here. Although this phone is even lighter than that one, I do like the change to the camera. I do think after, you know, all this time having this phone, I do like how it's vertical. I think it matches the shape of the phone a little bit more. Some people think this looks like any other phone now with a vertical setup. They like the diagonal. Personally, I didn't like the diagonal. That's my take. I also like how thin and light this phone is. This phone is the lightest in the entire iPhone 16 bunch, and it makes for the most comfortable, compact feel of all of them this year. I also like that it has USB-C, and I also like the texture of the materials. It doesn't really pick up a lot of fingerprints or anything like that. The camera control button, I have accidentally been pressing on this phone quite a bit, but generally, I just think this phone in general is a pretty nice product. The actual body and the build is pretty nice. Some people say it looks like a toy. I don't agree. I feel like this phone just looks like a pretty premium iPhone without being like the most fancy one. That's how I see it, and that's just the bottom line. Durability wise, it does feel like without a case, if you sit on this thing or you drop it, that aluminum could probably scratch up. You could probably bend this if you get a little bit too rough with it. It wouldn't be very easy though. They're much more durable these days. But definitely, you know, this phone feels like any other premium iPhone. You're definitely going to still want a case. Also, this is IP68 dust and water resistant, so I'm not really concerned about a couple splashes here and there. And it also doesn't have a SIM card tray, so if you're coming from something prior to the iPhone 14, you will have to get an eSIM on here. I like how they now have the action button that makes this feel more in line with the current phones. In addition, having the dynamic island, if you're coming from an older iPhone, literally makes this feel almost like a pro level iPhone right here because of that. In addition, having the camera control button makes this also feel closer to a pro iPhone than ever before. And even though these features are gimmicky to some people and maybe even slower to operate just by using your thumb or the zoom action right here, I found it to just be nice that I know that even if I'm paying less money, I'm still getting the camera control button on here and the action button, which is programmable. It just makes the phone feel like a better deal for the money. But then it has that one con of the lack of 60 hertz. Also, it has another con. It doesn't have always on display, which is really weird because this is an OLED display, and most other phones out there have always on. And maybe the excuse is no ProMotion, but there are phones back in the day with 60 hertz that had always on displays. So there's no excuse for that. That should be on the base model as well next time. What irks me a little bit about this is that it's so close to a great product, like being like, you don't even have to get the Pro, but there's just those two little features they leave off, and it almost feels intentional. I just think that these features would still not stop pros from buying the Pro. I feel like people would still buy the Pro because there's still an extra camera. They're still, you know, bigger. They still have longer battery, especially the Max. So I still don't think it would alienate those customers. I just think we need those extra features on this base model iPhone. When it comes to the display, I really love the calibration. I think the calibration tuning on here has been very good. The color reproduction is really good. It's not oversaturated, undersaturated, and it's pretty sharp. Although there are phones with much sharper text, higher pixels per inch, or higher resolution on the market, this one is still very good. It has absolutely flawless viewing angles right there as well, although not the most anti-reflective. So if you want a more anti-reflective phone, that's going to be from Samsung. They still do that a lot better, and that's one of the newer pros to getting a Samsung phone. The actual size of the display is pretty reachable for most people, although you're still going to have to utilize that feature if you have smaller hands. This is still a large phone, and it's kind of sad that we don't really have small options anymore, and this one is no exception, although it is the smallest option of the newer lineup that Apple is offering. I also found that once you kind of get used to it, you don't really notice 60 hertz, but for those people who have used a 120 hertz, there's kind of like no going back. It's literally a little bit jarring at first. You will eventually get used to it, but it's only for the people who have already had ProMotion or a similar adaptive refresh style display will actually see this. It's small. Your eyes can readjust, but it's just like, why? It shouldn't be there. Other than that, though, it's been pretty good. I also like the aspect ratio. It allows for content to spread across the screen pretty well, which means that it's not a super narrow display. And it's also not too tall of a phone. It's got a really, really good balance. I like that. I also like the curved corners of this phone with the lightweight factor. Ergonomically puts this phone in a position that just feels very comfortable in the palm of the hand. This phone, it just feels like a joy to hold. Smooth edges, just really joy to hold. Probably one of the smoothest, nicest feeling phones on the market today. I actually like holding this one more than the iPhone 16 Pro, which has more heft to it, making this be probably my preferred choice, even the 16 Plus being my preferred choice. Both the base 16 and 16 Plus feel better than that of the 16 Pro and Pro Max in the hand. A couple last notes about the display. It does hit 2000 nits, so outdoors, pretty darn bright. You're definitely going to see this thing pretty easily. Also, this phone does have ceramic shield glass, so it's pretty strong, although I still have a tempered glass on here right now. It's still a very, very strong display. I still recommend cases and screen protectors to protect your investment, as no phone is not going to be able to withstand multiple drops. You're going to eventually crack something, especially if you're not getting Apple Care. Definitely you're going to want some protection on here. So after a few weeks, using the software is what a lot of people are starting to call boring because they're so used to iOS, but I think it's fun this year with the new customization features with iOS 18. It's really coming in the way of software. And then as we do finally get our updates to 18.1 and we are going to get Apple Intelligence, it does make for a little bit more fun of an experience. But at its core, it's still iOS, it's still app library, grid of icons, but you can now put apps wherever you want on the screen, which is fun. In addition, you have more customization and stackable widgets. So definitely the actual experience is quite nice. They also cleaned up settings, rolling the apps into one section, which means the app section looks nice. The software looks pretty nice, although it's not like a drastic redesign. If you're looking for a drastic redesign, we don't have that here. We do have some upgrades to the control center. This looks a lot different this year. But what I mean is like a total rehaul, like when they went from like the older skeuomorphic design to the flat UI, nothing like that. It's not like night and day different redesign. It's not like that. But you do have the action button software in here, which looks kind of cool. I mean, it shows you a little animation sometimes like that, a little like turn right there, just little stuff. But at the end of the day, this phone has a little bit nicer software than before. If you're coming from an older iPhone, you'll also see some new camera controls, like this ability to go ahead and go in here with the 2x because you can crop now. You have cinematic mode, spatial video, so some new camera software options. And then if you go over here into the camera control, double click right there, you'll be able to go through zoom, cameras, and more. So there's a few things to play around with here that are different. And then lastly, if you are coming from an older iPhone, which a lot of people are when they're buying this product, the dynamic island is definitely going to showcase some new features, which are fun and they work with a lot of applications. But at the end of the day, I like the software consistency. I think Apple does do it the best when it comes to getting software updates. They do it some of the fastest out there. And I like how the core apps are very polished and most of them seem to work well. They're a very reliable, consistent experience day to day with software here, but it is also not customizable enough to like where it's going to match Android. If you want to do all that customization, if you want to have extra features on top of extra features on top of extra features, this is still not the product for you. But if you want some fun, a little bit more open than before, really polished, reliable software, this is definitely the one for you, and maybe a little bit more secure and private than some competing options out there. From the speed perspective, even though this is not 120 hertz, the actual chip is blazing fast. The phone is ridiculous. 3 weeks later, I am blown away that even on the base model now, we're benchmarking 8239 and a 3391. Also on 3D Mark, we're getting graphics that I haven't seen before on some of the base models. So this is the best year in years for a base model. 24 FPS. I mean, you can play games, high-end games now on the base model without any perceptible lag or anything like that. And then having that 8 gigabytes of RAM on board is going to allow for this base model iPhone to last a long time. So I do think that the iPhone here, so you can see 7.52 and that clock speed of 4.04 gigs, this base model iPhone is a beast for when it comes to the actual chip in the RAM. It's really, really powerful. So I'm really excited about that. That's probably one of my favorite things about this is the chipset in the RAM for the base model. I want to see 12 on Pros or 16 gigs RAM there. But for the base, 8 is enough. And it kind of reminds me of like MacBook Airs and stuff. You'll get 8 gigs of RAM on MacBook Airs. You'll want 16 to 32 on something like a Pro. But this is really, really good in performance now. Base storage starts at 128 gig. They could probably upgrade that to the 256 as 128 is starting to become kind of small. Although that is the one I got because I'm not making this my main product. But if it was, I would go 256 gig, which does jack up the price a little bit. At the end of the day, the memory's kind of low on the base model. So 256 to be safe, 512 if you want quite a bit of storage. So looking at the cameras, you can see those lenses are quite large here on the iPhone 16 and they're very, very good. I mean pro level good. Like these cameras, I don't even, honestly, to make videos for YouTube, to make content for social media, you do not need a pro. The base models do enough. And most of the time, you're not going to be zooming more than like 2x, 10 times, whatever. Well, on the video, you can go 6, but you're not going to be zooming way too much most of the time on these phones when it comes to making videos and stuff, because the best video looks the best on the main sensor anyway. Also, you have action mode on here and more, and you can do 4K 60 on the front and rear. You don't get the 4K 120, but that's such a new feature. I don't think everybody needs that right now. You also get the macro mode, and I mean, let's look at the detail. It's phenomenal. So, I mean, there's not really much else to talk about in that respect. Apple hasn't really changed much on the front-facing camera, but it's not like they needed to really, really go crazy with the front. It's still very good and much sharper than what we've seen before. Really good detail here on the front. Although I do think that they can improve the megapixel count on the front camera, as some competitors like Google Pixel are getting higher megapixel counts. They can probably do that. But other than that, and they could probably do, a little bit better on the wide angle. They can make it a little wider on that front camera, a little bit wider than that for a better vlogging experience. But at the end of the day, the camera setup is really boss status on this one and on the front. It reminds me a lot of the iPhone 13 year. So I'm very happy weeks later here with the camera setup. I can grab this one or the Max and I'll be on my way, very happy with my camera in my pocket. When it comes to the battery life, this phone is rated to be pretty much an all-day phone, and I found that to be quite true. It also doesn't get too super toasty. But battery life wise, I still say if you want the best battery, just go to a Plus or a Max. These are everyday phones for casual use to medium heavy use, but they're not heavy to heavy long-term extended use. Those are the Plus and the Max. So honestly, that's how I feel about it. I'm grabbing this for a day off and on the phone, but for heavy use, I'm definitely not buying this phone right here. This one is not going to be the road warrior of a long battery life, but it'll get you through a work day and then some. So it's pretty good. But a Max, it'll get you through the work day, go to sleep, wake up, and still go through another work day, and you'll still have battery. So that's the difference. That's the real world difference that I'm experiencing with these products right here. From an audio perspective, though, it's pretty darn loud, although it cannot match that of the sound quality of the Pro Max, which I've been kind of comparing this to throughout this video. It is not really matching it there, but I like that it has USB-C, although this is not the fastest USB-C. This is a 2.0 port, so not the quickest, and it doesn't charge very fast. That's a major con of the iPhones. They just don't charge very fast. Some say that it makes the battery last longer as you're not charging it so fast and quickly draining the battery. I'm not sure, but for me, I don't like how slow these phones charge. They take quite a bit of time, but maybe it will help it last a little bit longer. But yeah, that's just one of the cons there. Connectivity-wise, though, we have Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.3, and the list goes on, all the latest connectivity standards. Newer modems in here also allowed the phone call quality to be exceptional for this product. So when making phone calls, pretty exceptional, and also pretty good signal strength comparatively to some of the older iPhones. Like coming from the iPhone 12, 11 back in those days, this is a really, really big upgrade for you if you wanted to do that. So giving you my final conclusion, this comes in ultramarine, teal, pink, black, and white. Am I super excited about this phone? The answer is, if I'm being totally honest with you, no. Do I like this phone? Yes. I like this way more than the iPhone 15 though, because it has better cameras, has camera control, action button, a little bit longer battery. But the main thing I like is that it has the more premium chip, A18 processor, 8 gigabytes of RAM. This feels way more future-proofed than the iPhone 15, which is kind of annoying because the 15 just came out yesterday. But I do think the base model is a really good option for just casual users. I think it really is. I just don't think it's going to impress nor be super interesting to tech fans. People are into tech. That's what the pros are for. So that's my final take on this thing. It's a great phone. It doesn't beat the pros, and it's getting close though. We're just within spitting distance of the pros. We're looking at an always-on display and a promotion, and we are nearly at the pro level. As a matter of fact, I feel like Apple will start putting those features probably when they launch a foldable iPhone or something like that, because then there'll be something even way drastically different. But I don't know how long they're going to keep doing that, leaving out the promotion, because it's really kind of like the last thing before this is basically like, and also we could probably see an all-screen display, no dynamic island someday. But definitely, this is a definite really good phone here. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give this about a 7.5 to 8 out of 10 on the scale. So thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If it helped you decide to buy an iPhone 16, please consider using my links down below. They are affiliate links to help give me a little kickback for the channel. If not, that's fine too. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you all in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.